to me, it looks pretty terrible. I think that's not the way forward. Of course, probably that's the worst, one of the worst tracks. But for me, yeah, the problem is, it looks like it's gonna be an ice competition. Like, so whoever has the strongest engine will have a big benefit. But I don't think that should be the intention of Formula One, because then you will start a massive development war again, and it will become quite expensive to find probably a few horsepower here and there. Plus, the cars probably have a lot less drag, so it will be even harder to overtake on the straight. And then I think, yeah, you have the active aerodynamics, which you can't control. They control it. Well, it will be, I don't know, the system will control it for you, which then I think makes it very awkward to drive, because I prefer to control it myself. If the system starts to control that for you, I don't think that's the right way forward.
Max is going to be the driver that's going to nail how to use these cars this year, how to manage battery and gears and everything. He'll figure it out.
We've already seen that through testing, Max has been driving the car differently to the other drivers, with the double downshifting, with some revving into corners and the like. He's already playing with it and doing things that other teams or drivers haven't even thought about. So now, whether or not that's also playing with the other drivers for them to go, hang on, should we be doing this a little bit differently? Some of the pundits have been suggesting that might be the case. But yeah, Max will definitely drive the car the way the car needs to be driven.
Formula One just went through its biggest regulation change in years. New engine rules, new aero rules, F1 on literal steroids, more electric torque, less downforce, cars that are basically untamable. Every pundit, every fan, every rival team engineer, they all said the same thing. This is finally it. Max Verstappen is over.
Time will tell, right?
Can that power unit be competitive in its first season, enough to give you a chance to fight for wins in the championships?
Time will tell, right? I mean, we don't know. The only thing that I do know is that everyone is giving it everything that they have. You know, we are trying to push ahead. We're really trying to maximize everything. But it's not going to be easy, we know that.
Checo was gone, Adrian Newey was gone, Honda was gone, Red Bull had a brand new in-house engine, never raced before, built with Ford. The internet called it a disaster waiting to happen, and then Max Verstappen showed up. And reminded every single person on this planet why they call him a monster with a baby face. Let's go back real quick, because context matters here. 2025 was tough for Red Bull. Sergio Perez was costing them the Constructors' Championship race after race. Then they replaced him with Liam Lawson, and that didn't fix things either. Staff turnover hit the team hard after Newey's departure. Rivals were catching up fast. And then 2026 arrives. The biggest rule shakeup in F1 history. New power split. 50% combustion, 50% electric. Electric output nearly tripling to 350 kilowatts. Downforce slashed by up to 30%. These new cars, completely alien, unpredictable, violent. Carlos Sainz described power delivery so inconsistent, it slowed cars down in the middle of straights. Lewis Hamilton said rain driving would be, and I quote, very, very, very hard. Lance Stroll said the situation was very, very critical. And Red Bull, they're running a brand new engine they've never raced before. Testing showed Verstappen third in Bahrain, over a second off Ferrari, nearly 2 seconds off the pace. The comment sections were brutal. He's washed. Without Newey, he's nothing. Ferrari's era has begun. But here's what those people completely missed. While every other driver was scared of these new cars, scared of the torque, scared of the instability, Max Verstappen was smiling. Because Max has been training for exactly this his entire life. Let me explain something called the optimal slip angle. Formula One tires don't generate maximum grip when they're fully planted. They generate maximum force at somewhere between 6 and 8 degrees of slip. That razor-thin zone where the tire is slightly sliding but not fully losing traction. Every other driver tries to avoid that zone. It feels dangerous, uncomfortable, wrong. Max Verstappen doesn't just enter that zone. He lives there. And with the 2026 cars, less downforce, more torque, cars literally trying to spin out of control on every corner exit, that skill became worth 10 times what it already was. But here's the trick that nobody saw coming during pre-season testing. On the very first day, Max was spotted dropping down into first gear, something almost no other driver was doing, to aggressively recharge his battery's energy element. Other teams tried to copy it. Ferrari struggled to even execute it mechanically. That one technique completely changed his energy deployment picture. And Red Bull's team boss Laurent Mekies confirmed something huge. Verstappen was running extended energy deployment curves, stretching the electric boost deeper into long straights, eliminating what engineers call clipping, where your electric power just runs out. If your car never clips, it never slows at the end of the straight. If it never slows, you can't overtake it. If you can't overtake it, strategy becomes irrelevant. That's not a car advantage, that's a weapon. Now you're probably wondering, where does a human being learn to do what Max Verstappen does? The answer starts when he was 4.5 years old. His father, Jos Verstappen, himself an F1 driver, put Max in a kart before most kids can ride a bicycle without training wheels. First race win came at 7. By 15, he won 3 international karting championships in a single season, something literally no one had ever done before. But it wasn't the trophies that made him, it was the training. During winter camps in Italy, when rain came down and every other kid ran to the cafeteria to stay warm, Max kept driving. Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko described it simply: as long as his fingers weren't completely frozen, he kept going. Jos would let Max warm up between stints in the van, then send him right back out for 10 more laps in brutal cold. When Max came back saying he couldn't feel his hands, Jos gave him 3 minutes, then sent him back out. But here's the part that explains everything about the driver he became. Jos would secretly change something on the kart chassis before sending Max out, then give him exactly 2 laps to identify what had changed. 2 laps. That's it. Red Bull's performance coach Bradley Scanes pointed out, "You see that ability now whenever Max drives out of the garage and immediately asks if they change something on the left front, and it'll be the smallest adjustment imaginable." Jos also added secret lead weight to Max's kart without telling him. Max had no idea. Jos only showed satisfaction when his son matched everyone else's lap times anyway, carrying a handicap he didn't even know about. This is the baby face. Innocent looking, humble seeming, but underneath, a monster built in freezing rain, lap after lap, by a father who refused to let him be anything less than the best. Let's talk about what this man has actually done, because people forget. 4-time world champion, the youngest ever, records that seemed unreachable, broken like they were nothing. His teammates have been destroyed. Pierre Gasly averaged over half a second slower in qualifying and was out-qualified 11-1 across 26 races. Alex Albon managed to out-qualify Max exactly once. 2024 was Perez's worst year, a 23-1 qualifying deficit. But forget teammates. Let's talk about the races that made the world realize this man operates on a different level. Brazil 2016, torrential rain, dropped to 16th after a pit stop, gained 13 places in 14 laps. Toto Wolff, the guy who ran the dominant Mercedes team, watched it happen and said Max was redefining physics. Brazil 2024, started 17th after penalties, won by 19 seconds. Set the fastest lap 17 times in a single race. Jolyon Palmer, F1's own analyst, called it his best wet race yet. Even better than the 2016 drive that made him famous. Imola 2021, won by 22 seconds in the wet, in the rain, against a full grid of world-class drivers. This is a man who performs better when conditions are worst. When normal drivers slow down, Max speeds up. And with 2026 bringing the most challenging conditions the grid has ever seen, you do the math. Here's the uncomfortable truth for every rival team. Red Bull didn't just build a fast car for 2026, they built a system, an integrated architecture that no one can reverse engineer mid-season.